Hi there, my name is Kronenberg and welcome to my channel. This is a film review of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It's a thriller, came out in 1939, it's a 13 plus, an hour and 25 minutes. Amazon is 4.6 out of 5, IMDb is 7.2 out of 10, I'll read the Amazon synopsis. Acquitted due to the lack of evidence, Moriarty leaves court and plots his next crime. Holmes and Watson soon become involved in the intimidating and anonymous letters sent to socialite Anne Brandon, the murder of a brother and threats to the security of a priceless gem. Will Holmes and Watson outfox Moriarty? So the director is Alfred L. Werker, W-E-R-K-E-R, who directed He Walked by Night. Producer, well, there's two of them, but with producer on we have Darrell F. Zanuck, who did All About Eve. Music, well, there's five of them. We have Robert Russell Bennett, who did Suez. David Buttolph, who did Moss Rose. Cyril J. Mockridge, who did Laramie, the series. David Raksin, who did The Day After. And Walter Scharf, S-C-H-A-R-F, who did This Is Elvis. And the cast, as usual, I'll pick the main ones. We have Basil Rathbone, who was Sherlock Holmes. He was in The Hound of the Baskervilles. I've reviewed that once, the first film. This is the second film, obviously, of the collection of Rathbones. Nigel Bruce was Dr. Watson, who was in World for Ransom. George Zucco, Z-U-C-C-O, who was Professor Moriarty, who was in Fog Island. Ida Lupino, who was Anne Brandon, who was in Pillow to Post. And Alan Marshall, who was Gerald Hunter, who was in House on Haunted Hill. The original one, by the way, with Vincent Price. It's a fantastic film. I will probably review that one day, but I love that film. Filmed in LA, in California, in USA. It's also known as just Sherlock Holmes. And this was the first adaptation where Sherlock Holmes uttered the phrase, "Elementary, my dear Watson," which was never uttered in the original stories. So as I say, it's one of my... I've got a box set. I'm plodding my way through them slowly, so you will get all of them. There's 14 of them. The credits say it's based on the play Sherlock Holmes, hence the wording. Now, it starts with a bit of wording at the beginning about Sherlock and Moriarty, his nemesis. Everybody has a nemesis. I think my nemesis is work. He's one of his phrases, I love this. He says, "You have a magnificent brain, Moriarty. I admire it. I'd admire it more if it was pickled for all the world to see." Yeah, they're both sharing a cab at this point, like a horse-drawn cab. The murderer and the sleuth. It's kind of cool. So one of his crew, I think it's the cabbie, is asking some questions. He's been asked to post a letter. So Moriarty sort of looks after him, says, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. You know, I'll look after you, the police. And he says, "Yeah, that's what you said to Higgins." And he goes, "Oh yes, Higgins. All they found was a pair of boots." And he went, No, one boot, Professor. You know, Higgins was like you, asked too many questions, and all they found was one boot. It's just like, yes, there's a subtle suggestion, mate. But apparently, murdering a human being, whatever they are, is nothing major. Don't worry about that. Murdering a plant or a flower, my God. The poor butler was all of a dither when he found out he'd murdered this Triffid or whatever it was. Now, they got this lad called Billy. I think he was like a prodigy. Well, he wasn't a prodigy. I think he just wanted. I think he knew like Mrs. Hudson and sort of stuff. But he was doing some sweeping for her. He's wearing his trousers and shirt like like a page boy sort of thing. But he's also wearing a frock over his things because she's like saying, if you're going to be doing that, you're going to have to wear this frock. Not by choice, obviously. And then he swept the dirt under the rug, which was the typical sweep the dirt onto the rug thing. I thought that was quite fun. So Anne's getting quite worried about a garden party, because she might get killed. So Gerald, the family lawyer, has appeared, and watching them talk is like watching one of those old films where it's like, "Oh, Gerald." "Anne, what have you done? Where's the letter?" "Oh, Gerald, I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Anne. We'll be there." At this point, I didn't realise that they were actually together, because I thought it was just like the family lawyer, but it was like, yeah, and then Holmes and Watson's just looking on going, what the hell are we watching? "So, you're afraid someone may murder you on the same day as your father did, or was, years ago? You're safe in the office with Gerald. You're still unsure. So Gerald suggests, go home. It's safe there." So you go, "Okay then." and go home. Awesome. Like, let's hope nothing happens as you go outside into the public, where the murderer could be, instead of inside that thing. Obviously, keep flicking between different scenes, and Holmes and Anne have just reached this museum or library or something. They're reciting the Ancient Mariner words, and then I had the Iron Maiden song in the head. If you don't know it, you won't know it, but it's the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I'm pretty sure they weren't singing that because they weren't around at that point. Anyway, you're still worried. You're walking home, right? It's in the public area, completely safe. It's foggy, but that's because it's London, even though it was filmed in America, because Britain was at war at the time. So you're kind of thinking, I'm safe here. There's people everywhere. There's little taxis and people, and then you have a choice. You either stay on the street with all those people, or you take that shortcut through the park. It's night and dense fog. What could possibly go wrong? And then you hear this ah. It's just. Yeah, well done, mate. Another great quote. The nose of a police dog is long and points only in one direction. They think you're the murderer, and it's so true. So basically, as you probably may or may not know, police tend to only look at one theory. They go, oh yeah, it was definitely this, and that's all they ever go by, and then they just focus on that thing, and then you're like, yeah, what about this other thing? Could it be this? No, the evidence all points to this. Like, yeah, but could the evidence be, maybe just laid there as a red herring? No. Hence the reason why there's so many unsolved crimes, if they actually turned up, of course. It's good watching these two. Right, Watson's this bumbling type person, and out of his willingness is Watson. And Holmes had just said he'll send the most dependable person he knows. Right, and Watson's like, well, who could that possibly be? Because they just had an argument. And he taps him on the shoulder and he goes, you, my dear fellow. And Watson kind of grins. It's like, yeah. It's like, So this is a nod to a nod to it. It hadn't even happened at this point. So at the Tower of London, there's a guy called Captain Mannering. Now, if you've seen Dad's Army, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you won't. But there's a 70s or 80s sitcom or British comedy called Dad's Army. And in there was Captain Mannering. So I was like that, but it obviously wasn't because it's in the 30s. Now, remember the golden rule. Make sure that everyone is huddled around the crown jewels and say that you have the key, the only key, to open the gate. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, here's a way to protect the jewels, the crown jewels. You have loads of soldiers with those fuzzy hats. I don't know what they're called. There's a certain name of the bloody soldiers or whatever it is. The bearskins. But how do you get in? How do you get in through all those guards? Well, what you do is you have a cabbie, the horse-drawn one, sort of appear at speed. It falls on its side, so the cabbie is like falling over, going, oh! So all the people who are guarding the crown jewels rush out and help him while you just zip in the side. It's like, yeah, don't worry about such trivial things as security. Anyway, it's a good film as usual. I'm going to give it a decent rating of 8. Because I like Sherlock Holmes. There are a couple that I'm not too fan of, but this was another one that I did enjoy. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed watching this and listening to this film review of Sherlock Holmes, or The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Please subscribe to my channel. Got plenty of the film reviews, quite a lot of Sherlocks now, and quite a lot of thrillers. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Have you seen this film? Okay, well, thank you and goodbye.